any old Joe can bring a kid into this world, but it takes a real man and a real father to like guide them through the world. You're going to be a friend. You're going to be an example. Are you going to be humble in your wins? And are you going to be gracious in your losses? Those things will be so important to your kids.
Welcome to the Chasing Mountains podcast. We today are talking about fatherhood. Yesterday was Father's Day. And so we decided to do kind of a impromptu, just sort of discussion around fatherhood and some of our thoughts and experiences and things. Share some of that for release in just a couple of days.
Yeah. I think it's important though, because someone has some interesting news. I shouldn't say interesting, wonderful news. What is that news?
Groundbreaking news.
Groundbreaking news.
I'm a father as of, thank you. As of like a week ago.
So in between the release of our last podcast and this one that's coming out, the man had a beautiful baby girl.
Yeah. She's so beautiful.
So first off,
she's so perfect.
like what we'll get into more of the details later about like what was going through your head. Now that you're a father, I feel like you're being welcomed into like a club that not everybody understands. There's a certain sense of responsibility. There's a sense of duty and family, heritage, all these things. But there's some interesting things that come with that. Like for some reason, you're going to start loving New Balance.
New Balance shoes.
New Balance shoes. You're going to start loving khaki shorts with big pockets.
Already do.
You already do? Okay. And for some weird reason, dad jokes just come natural.
You know what?
So
they've been coming natural to me for a long time.
I know they have. So as just a fun way to start off this podcast, and we'll talk about some serious stuff here in a little bit, just about the importance of fathers. Let's do a little bit of a you laugh, you lose. Okay. And this could be absolutely terrible. We only got a few jokes. We're going to bounce off one another. If any one of us laugh, we lose $1. Okay.
What? I didn't know there was a financial stake
there's
here.
There's money on the line.
Oh my goodness. All right.
And I want you to know I outsourced my joke finding to my wife. So if it's terrible.
So it's probably good, actually.
No, actually, except for one of them, the last one came from one of my nephews. And I laughed out loud. So I figured
one of my also nephews?
One of your nephews as well. And I think you'll know which one it is. But it's an inappropriate one. It's really good. So
that sounds like our nephews.
We're not allowed to laugh.
Okay. So you going first? You go first.
Okay.
I'm just going to
First off, dad jokes are awful and they're wonderful at the same time.
They're the perfect joke.
Now that you're a father, you can do it guilt-free. Let me see. Okay.
I had no guilt anyway.
All right. This is a dumb one. Okay. But here we go.
Aren't they all?
How do billboards talk?
How?
Sign language. No.
Can I smile and not laugh?
You can smile. All right, your turn.
It does make me smile. So this one is a special delivery from our mutual friend, John Johnson, who also, if I had to rank
father of two, right?
Father of two, longtime father of two, if I had to rank dad jokes, like he keeps them coming. He's pretty high up there. All right. So you ready?
Ready.
He says, I heard watching tropical fish at home can be very relaxing. It's because of the indoor fins. You get it?
Yes, but why did I giggle?
Indoor fins?
I got it. I'm embarrassed I laughed.
Indoor fins?
Yes. Okay.
If you don't get it by now, you won't.
Here we go. What has two butts and can kill you?
I'm already laughing. And you haven't given the punchline. What?
Assassins.
Ass, and.
It's spelled assassin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Your turn. We're terrible at this.
Let's see.
All right. Bring it, bro. Bring it.
What do you call a fish wearing a bow tie?
A fish wearing a bow tie.
This is like word humor.
I don't know.
These are my favorite. You call it sophisticated.
I don't know why the fish ones. They're getting me. Okay. That wasn't bad. Okay. When does a joke become a dad joke?
when its quality dips below a certain point? When
it becomes apparent.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that one. No, more wordplay.
Okay.
What do a tick and the Eiffel Tower have in common?
I feel like I don't want to know this.
They're both Paris sites. Huh?
Such a crappy dad joke.
All right,
this is one that came from my nephew. And I was eating lunch with him, Sunday. And he said this at the table, and I spit food all over the table, mostly because I wasn't expecting it to come out of him. Anyways.
Is this our younger nephew?
No, the older.
Okay.
But I wasn't ready for it. Okay. What's the difference between one tire and 365 used condoms?
This is the youth in our family. Something rubber. I don't know.
One is a good year and one is a great year.
Oh, geez. I laugh. That's terrible. That's not a dad joke. It's not appropriate. It's also our nephew saying that. Oh, boy.
It's not.
All right.
Okay, look. So the dad jokes in general, they're awful. But the truth is, there is some fun and some charm of just annoying your children in a fun way. So backtrack just a little bit with you becoming a father. I have 2 children. One is 3 and one is 1.5 years old. In the moment when your daughter was being actually brought into this world, what was going through that caveman brain of yours? Like, what was the instinct?
Yeah, a lot of things that were not cavemanish, honestly. There was a lot of like high level spiritual things happening there. There were some like heavy human existence type thoughts going through my mind of like purpose. And just, I guess just to give a little context, my wife, Jake's sister, she and I decided to have a baby roughly 10 months ago. Mm-hmm. And here we are with our baby. But we made the decision partway through the pregnancy after educating ourselves and really as a family unit and as a couple kind of diving into the birth experience, the labor experience, pregnancy experience. We chose to have a at-home water birth. So we worked with midwife and a doula, excellent care team. We could not have been happier with that team. But I spent a lot of time with my wife leading up to that moment, the day of the birth, which was 20 hours of labor, getting prepared and getting ready, mentally, emotionally, intellectually ready, just so I can understand, like what we were getting into. And so for me, it was kind of the fruition of like, this big climactic moment where everything we've been preparing for and waiting for, which was this new life, she was coming. And so what was I thinking? I was thinking about my wife, who again was at approaching 20 hours of pushing, or at least laboring. I spent basically the majority of those 20 hours applying counter pressure, which you know about that. If you don't know, when women are laboring, there's a lot of just forces and pressure in their body and in their pelvis from the contractions. And so it's helpful to push on their hips, push on their back, kind of just provide a variety of, comfort measures. So,
and she did it all natural too.
She was all natural. So no, no pain medication, no epidural, no anything. So it was something that she was very intentional about and very much wanted. And so I supported her, and it was really good.
It's hard though.
It was hard. She worked really hard.
Well, not even just for her, it was hard for you. My wife did the same thing, no drugs. She wanted it very natural, both times. And each time it's just so hard to see the one that you love.
Our wives are very similar.
Yeah, they're hippies. But they're actually, like, I would say, like, more modern day hippies. They just want to be healthy. They want their kids to be healthy. They don't just blindly trust the medical system. They do their research, and when it's necessary, they'll go to the doctor. When it's not, they won't. But when it came time for them to have birth, it was really hard for me emotionally. And I'm not a very emotional man. But it was hard to see my wife just in that much pain. But you could tell that's what she wanted. Yeah. And it was hard. there's as far as counter pressure and stuff like it's a lot of work. Now I know they're obviously working way more than we are, but it's a lot of work. Constantly, counter pressure. I mean, some of those times with the counter pressure, it was harder than any workout I really have ever done because it's such an intense moment.
Well, and your sister is strong.
Oh God.
She needed a lot of pressure. Mm-hmm. She, our doula, whose job it is to kind of, as you know, provide the counter pressure and provide comfort measures. She was giving it all she could, at periods of time, but I kind of had to take over a lot of it just because Ilea needed more than she could give. So yeah, we were working hard, but it's emotional. I had several periods where, we were going through the process and I just had some tears going because like the gravity of the moment that we were in, was, really hit me. Like she was going through this event in her life that she's only going to go through. It's definitely maybe a few times.
We'll see. Turmoil.
We'll see, but
it's turmoil.
It's turmoil, and it's a form of trauma, but it's for us, it was controlled trauma. Mm-hmm. It was trauma in the way that like enrolling, and completing a marathon is trauma. It's it's traumatic for your body, but you do the best you can to prepare for it mentally and physically. And, if you do a good job of that, then you can kind of control your experience. Mm-hmm. And so we were able to do that. I'm super proud of her, but like, honestly, I was so ready to meet my baby girl. And, we've been talking with her and kind of communicating through touch, like on mama's belly. But, for the whole 10 months of the pregnancy, she went 41 plus weeks. And your wife was there, by the way. Jake's wife was there.
They're best friends, by the way.
Yeah, doing video and some photo work. But man, it's just amazing. It really was amazing to be a part of bringing a new life into the world. And I was there in the tub, as you know, to receive her as she was born. And so like I watched her come out of my wife, and she came out, and I caught her underwater and kind of flipped her over and brought her up to mom. And it was amazing. It was incredible. And so the last week we've just been kind of basking in it. And there's
such a joy, and it's hard to explain to people who don't have kids, about this is my kid. There's something that's like switches in your brain. It's hard to explain. I know it happens billions of times, but it really is a miracle. Being brought into this world, because we humans really don't have that much to do with it. Yes, obviously the mother does. She's the host for the baby, but I mean, she didn't have to consciously think, oh, today I'm making the brain.
Right.
Today I'm making the lungs. It's just this magical thing that happens, and it can come from just the tiniest little thing to this beautiful human. And
well, to that point, like my wife commented that like totally passively, as you said, without thinking about it, she knitted together in her womb, in her uterus, a supercomputer that is the human brain. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's outrageous, really, when you think about it.
But it's magical, the fact that women can do this. We can't do it. Like, yes,
I don't want to.
No, I don't want to. But I mean, I respected my wife on a completely different level after she went through that whole process, and so much respect. It's like
100%.
She's in this. She's part of the family. She has brought my children into this world. I will kill for this woman. I will die for this woman. And I feel like you had a moment like that too, as well, of like the whole thing of like, whatever you need, babe.
No, I was just, after she was born, I was just holding her and looking at her. And, I told her she wouldn't date till she was 40 and that I would buy her anything she wanted, like a pony and a Corvette and, all these things that of course I can't afford, but she's going to get it.
Yeah.
Cause, she's my little babe. I wasn't sure how it's going to, like you already love your wife. Mm-hmm. And I, as I expected, fell totally head over heels in love immediately for my daughter. It's not like it pulls that love away from your wife, for me and for you. And I think for, men that go through this, like your love grows. It's suddenly by being a part of this experience with my wife and being along for the ride and part of the journey and being educated and being, a contributing partner, it felt like it was our project to bring our child into the world. And we did that. And so, my respect and admiration for my wife just grew. Mm-hmm. I mean, like pretty significantly, to watch her go through this and to give us a child, like it's awesome.
Well, I know that our wives
should have done it sooner.
Well, our wives kind of got frustrated with us a little bit when we were like, well, when I had my first kid, I said, wow, now we're a family. And she's like, wait, what was I? You know,
Right.
And I felt bad for saying that.
We
but
feel the same, and our wives feel the same, which is different than us.
I more looked at us as a couple, right?
Yeah.
We were a family unit on paper, but by having a child, it became like a heritage thing. It became
your legacy.
This is our legacy. We're doing this together. Man, mad respect for my wife and your wife for going through it naturally. It's pretty amazing. But I think it's important for people to understand when they are becoming a father, like any old Joe can bring a kid into this world, but it takes a real man and a real father to like guide them through the world.
Yeah.
Maybe the issue a lot of times is a lot of us men feel like, well, we've got to be the provider. We've got to be the protector. That's one part of it. We're to lead the family. Yes, with love. Yes, with understanding. But, you know, we're really supposed to elevate our family financially, spiritually, emotionally. There's so much to being a father, and you're going to be a friend. You're going to be an example. Are you going to be humble in your wins, and are you going to be gracious in your losses? Those things will be so important to your kids instead of just being perfect. We fathers don't have to be perfect. We need to be examples. And that doesn't mean an example of what not to do, but there's a lot to it. And I'm very excited to take on the challenge.
Well, and you've been taking on that challenge. Your kids are how old now?
3 is the oldest one, and one's 1.5. But I have some nephews I've been helping raise for a long time. And I say raise as in I'm part of their lives. You know, I see them all the time. I'm there for good moments, bad moments. I love them with all my heart. And I feel like maybe I play that father role in their lives because their father's just not in the picture.
Can we speak to that for a second?
Yeah, if you want to.
Because I just want to, I've got some data from Health and Human Services, the U.S. Health and Human Services, talking about basically about like father figures.
Father figures are very, very important.
Yeah.
And I don't want to discourage someone if they don't have it. And we'll talk a little bit about that here in a little bit, because I know there are plenty of people who grow up without fathers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you have some stats, I'm curious.
Yeah, because when I came into this family, that was something that, I saw right away, is the way that you were a father figure for our nephews, what would become, my nephews as well. And I've tried to do that too, but I mean, right from the very beginning, like you had instilled, kind of established yourself as a father figure in their lives. And
she's a huge part also in the raising of my children. It's a beautiful relationship between us both. And it's something I couldn't ask for more, but go ahead.
Just want to read something from the Department of Health and Human Services. It says, studies have shown that involved fathers provide practical support in raising children and serve as models for their development. Children with involved, loving fathers are significantly more likely to do well in school, have healthy self-esteem, and exhibit empathy and pro-social behavior compared to children who have uninvolved fathers. Additionally, more engaged fathers, whether living with or apart from their children, can help foster a child's healthy physical, emotional, and social development. So, one of the things that you and I talked about, sorry
to interrupt, involved fathers. I like how they phrased that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What I want to add to that is not only fathers, but father figures. Because I think that's, if a father is not there and not involved, father figures are like, they exist, they're around. I guess what I mean by that is like your example. Our nephews needed father figures, and I think continually still need father figures.
Of course.
And that male presence in their lives, and for the reasons I just said, and they're such wonderful little humans besides their inappropriate jokes.
Yeah.
But
they get that honestly though
from you. That's because of the father figures.
Yeah.
As our channel continues to grow, it's like in its infancy still, but it's been, growing pretty rapidly, which we're super excited about. Thank you so much. If you're watching this, please subscribe, like this video. We've got tons of great content. I encourage you to check it out. We've got a lot more coming, but one of the things, just the analytics, we kind of want to see who our audience is, who are the people that are subscribing and watching our videos. And a lot of the folks are, they're people in their 20s, young men in their 20s. And so we kind of wanted to speak to that. But I would encourage our audience, be mindful of the children in your life. And I don't mean necessarily your kids. If you have kids, great. But what I'm talking about is if you're 20 years old and you have nephews, you have nieces, you have neighbor kids, you have friends with kids, never underestimate the value that you can bring to the table
just by being a good influence, even
just by being a positive male influence.
Right. Because even if you don't think they're watching, they are. How you respond, how you treat women, how you treat your job, how hard you work. Even if you're not talking to the kid, they're watching and they're looking up as an example. And they probably think you're great. They think you're cool. I see my nephew, who used to annoy his brother because he was the older brother he looked up to. And then now my son is annoying him. And he's like, God, I would never. I was like, yes, you did annoy. It's part of it.
And that's natural too. Like young people look to older kids, like young kids look to older kids, especially, I would say boys look to older boys when they don't have that father figure. And sometimes, unfortunately, like in certain areas, that's why you end up with gangs, where you have young people, they're looking for that male community.
Yeah.
And they find it, unfortunately, in kind of the wrong ways, in the wrong areas. They fulfill that need in their life, in an unhealthy way. And so, just be mindful in your life, be mindful of, kids that need an influence. They need that father figure. You may think that is, above your pay grade, so to speak, or beyond your capabilities, but it doesn't have to be anything special. It's just be present, be positive, be encouraging, be an example, a positive example. And it's, the opportunities are there. And I would also add to that, if you're 19 years old, 20 years old, and you've never had that father figure, if you're, your dad was a drunk, your dad's in prison, your dad was abusive, that doesn't mean that you don't need a father figure. That doesn't mean that you don't need positive male leadership in your life, because I promise you do, even if you don't know it yet. Those leaders are out there. We talk a lot on this show about business, and one of the great experiences in my life, and I know yours too, has been finding mentors, finding people that are older than you, in a professional capacity, that are older than you, wiser than you, more experienced than you.
Because they want to share. It's like you've spent your whole life trying to get this knowledge, and then you're so excited you have it. And honestly, if they just want to give it away, and I could see that in people who are successful, they just want to give away the information they've got, but rarely people ask.
Yeah.
And in my life, man, I'm telling you, though I have a wonderful father, I've also had wonderful mentors.
If you're 20 years old and you've never had that father figure, don't say, well, I've outgrown the need for it. I don't need to look for role models anymore, because you do.
I'm 40 years old.
And you still look for role models.
Dude, I literally set up lunch to have a meeting with someone the other day who's wonderful in real estate. And he has millions and millions of dollars in real estate. And we're going to go have a burger. And just sitting there and listening to wisdom, it just feeds my soul. As far as even like being a father figure.
And find somebody local. Yeah. Again, like it's one thing to like follow The Rock on Instagram. He's your father figure. Okay, fine. But The Rock doesn't know you. The Rock doesn't care about you. Like, you can look at, his lifestyle, his hustle, and that could be your positive male role model. Great. But seriously, in every community, there are positive role models. There are mentors. There are father figures that would love nothing more than to have a knowledge transfer with you, and bring you along, take you under their wing, whether that's teach you a professional skill, bring you into a certain organization, just give you advice in life. And you and I both, I'm 35. You're what now?
I'm 39.
Yeah. So,
almost 40.
We became fathers later in life.
35.
But so like same age. But we've experienced a lot of mentorship along the way, and a lot of, good, positive male role models in our own fathers, in family, in community members, churches. And it's super, super important. And, I've also seen a lot of, in that time, so have you, we've seen a lot of our friends raise kids. And so it doesn't matter, like whether you became a father at 17 or whether you became a father at 35, you still need your own role models in addition. Like, how are you going to be a role model for young people and for your kids if you don't also have people out ahead of you that you're looking to kind of like, build you up and for you to learn from as well, So
that's one of the things I want my children to know me by, is that I was obsessed with trying to find knowledge. I want to be constantly learning, and mentors play a massive role in that. And I feel like if they see me constantly trying to grow, constantly trying to better myself, they're going to want to do the same thing. I mean, the influence that you can have between a child who's 0 to 7, you can kind of shape a good chunk of their life. That 0 to 7 is when their brain is fluid. I mean, you can mold them in a great way where they are wonderful people. There's a lot you can do for your kid.
If you're involved.
And that's one thing too.
If you commit.
I've talked to some older men, and one of their biggest regrets was that they didn't spend enough time with their children. And a lot of times men just work. And that's how they show their love. And they don't realize sometimes what the child really needed was just time with them. So I am extremely aggressive in my schedule with my work life, but also with my children.
Yeah. And you do a good job of that.
I hope so. Yeah. That's one of the things that really helped mold me was at a young age, my father would take me on construction sites and say, son, do you see that board? Here's what it's doing. That board is supporting that board. They're connected with these screws. And when I was a child, sometimes I couldn't sleep at night. My father would walk me through the whole process. All right, so we're going to build a house. What do we start with? And I was like, we got to start with framing. He goes, or do you got to start with the foundation? And then he'd walk me through the entire process and I'd fall asleep. And at a very young age, I could think.
So hold on. So you got really good at basically laying a foundation, the framing of the house, getting the studs. But then by the time you get to the roof, that was not nearly as well practiced because you fell asleep through most of that.
I was a late night kid. But the thing was that's how I'd go to sleep at night. I would lay there and I would think of how to build things. And that's why I love systems so well. Yeah. I can look at something and be like, that's how it's made. This is how the system works. This could possibly be better. You and I have conversations all the time about that, but that came back to my father just instilling that curiosity at a very young age. And he put me to work at a young age and I learned so much. And number one was the confidence to be able to fail and try again. You know me, I'm not afraid to try something and fail.
Yeah.
This podcast even, I mean, we're just trying something new. It's forcing us to learn every single day. And though this is not our normal topics, talking about a father, I think fathers are very important. And I would just encourage you, love your daughter with all your heart. Be there for her in the good times, bad times. Sometimes, you're going to have to discipline your child, but it's how you discipline your child, I believe, is one of the most important things. And how you love them. And yes, you want to give them everything you want, but will that create a good human? Probably not. If you just spoiled her with whatever she wants, no man or person will ever want to hang out with her because she always, gets what daddy likes. I remember a girl.
So that'll keep the men away from her? Is that what you're saying?
That's an interesting thing.
Then.
Yeah. You don't want any man around. You just want to protect her.
This first week, one of the things that's been in my mind is the idea of investment. And you and I talked about this before the show, but the idea that like having kids it's an investment. It's kind of the ultimate investment. In my mind, it's the most important investment that you can make. And
not a selfish investment. Like, what am I going to get from this?
Right.
It's an investment in the family.
Yes, exactly. It's an investment in the greater good. It's an investment in society. It's an investment in the future of your children. It's not necessarily a high ROI investment, not materially anyway, not financially per se. Having kids is expensive, but not crazy expensive. Like a lot of people talk about they talk about how it's exhausting and, it's super expensive. And, a lot of people told me like, oh, you're not going to sleep. And like the first week, yeah, we had a crying baby and we woke up a lot at night. I was changing diapers and, she was feeding a lot. Like, yeah, it was tough, like fine. But also like we brought a life into the world. So who the hell cares if it's tough? Who the hell cares if I have to give up, some sleep? I mean, the first 2 nights we didn't sleep at all because of labor. And then also, our baby being awake, but it's like
everything's a new experience. Breeze on the skin.
Yes. A new experience.
It's sound.
It's totally worth it. And I keep the mentality of like, okay, I'm getting up in the middle of the night. I'm tired, but I'm going to change this diaper because, I'm essentially watering this garden, like my child, she pooped her pants. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means she's growing. That means she's her mother's milk is helping her to grow and get stronger. And the amount of development in the first week that we've seen has been incredible. And she's getting stronger and more alert and, better at nursing. And, every diaper I change, it's like, all right, this is an investment in currently the physical growth of my child. But as as they start learning, there's this cognitive development. They're talking, they're learning about their environment. I see you doing the same kind of stuff with your son that your dad did with you, where you explain, hey, here's what you're looking at, and here's what this is. You're just constantly pouring into them and watering that garden, so that they can grow.
There's a season in life where you, Dave Rumer, you want to go experience. You want to absorb the knowledge. And then after a while, a sunset on the beach is just a sunset on the beach. And like we talked about in our last podcast about Bahamas, when I was there in that moment, experiencing it, I wanted my son and my daughter and my wife to be there and experience it with me. Seeing my son learn something, seeing him see a sunset or as he says, a choo-choo train, a choo-choo train, for the first time, and understanding like the mechanics of how things work and his amazement.
Yeah. I think your kid's going to be an engineer.
Oh, he's so smart.
Because I remember that video. I think it was your wife that showed me, but yeah, he was riding that Ferris wheel recently and going over, and he was like, instead of just being like, wow, this is amazing and enjoying it, he was sitting there like flat faced, no emotion, and just like sort of looking at it, like doing what I've seen you guys do before. You could tell he was sort of like putting it together in his mind, and he was, at like 3 years old, he was like,
that whole night,
trying to understand what was
story
happening.
And the gears turned the thing, and then the other gears, and then the horse went up and down, and I get
on the carousel.
On the carousel. Yeah. Which no, he doesn't understand a lot, but that joy of seeing him learn.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. And I want to encourage people, man, fatherhood is wonderful. It does change your life. Your ambitions do change a little bit. It's not so selfish towards me and what I want. It's like what we can do together. And I want to encourage people, man.
Well, and some of the most, sorry to interrupt, but like important points, some of the most productive, efficient people, successful people that I know are fathers, because they've only got so much time in the day to get things done. So when they're working, they're working really hard and really fast and really efficiently.
And I watched my children for 4 months straight while mom was working. I could afford to take off the time. And I decided, instead of having a babysitter while we were looking for a new nanny, I did it. But I still had to work some. So I would spend this much time with the children, put them down for a nap, and then I'd have 2 hours of just the most productive work I've ever had in my life. I don't have time for bullshit. I don't have time for this phone call. I only can do this. I only have this much time, and I know how much time it takes to render. I do video editing. It's going to change your life for the best. And I'm really excited for you. I know we probably should wrap this up, but I want to end this with, what are your hopes and your dreams for your daughter?
Oh, geez. Yeah, there's no limit. Seriously, no limit. I've sort of thought about that question, obviously, and I keep finding my way back to her mother, to your sister. I hope she's like her mom. And I think that is going to take her further than anything else in life, and
Aaliyah is a very strong woman.
Yeah, very much.
Very driven, but very kind.
And I am excited about their relationship too.
Me too.
It's been amazing to see how deeply my wife cares for our daughter and loves our daughter. I knew she would, but it's like beyond what I expected. And it's like really admirable. And I am so thankful for that. I'm thankful for my daughter. And yeah, I mean, I hope for no limits in her life. And I think that if we are successful in the ways that we want to raise her, I think she won't have those. So,
well, she has 2 loving parents. That's a big success right there. Supportive parents.
Yeah. She was, born into a family with 2 parents that really, really wanted her in the United States of America. She hit the jackpot, to be born at all into those circumstances, totally hit the jackpot. And it's my job not to screw it up.
I think you'll do a good job. It's extra special to me because Aaliyah, though my parents, obviously wonderful parents, but I did help raise Aaliyah.
Yeah.
I was the oldest brother.
And she's the youngest kid.
Youngest kid, and she's 10 years younger than I am. And I was the only person who could get her to sleep for about a year. And it was annoying.
Just whack her on the back of the head or what?
No, oddly enough, the way that we could only get her to sleep was there was this giant basket that we would put a pillow in. She'd lay down in it, and I'd have a little rope I'd wrap around it, and I'd just walk around in this big circle, and she would fall asleep. And if I stopped, she'd be like, nope, keep it going. And I would just pull her around, and she'd fall asleep, and she'd call it her carriage. And, I don't know why she loved it, but that was the only way we could get her to sleep for like 3 to 4 months. And I would do it, get her to sleep, put her to bed. But she was my buddy my whole life. When I was in the studio recording songs, she was right there. When I was traveling, doing shows, she was there. When I was filming projects, she came and worked for me for how many years? Like 6 years, something like that. She was my main editor for about 2.5 years, something like that. We've written a lot of music together. She's one of my best friends in this world. And to see her fall in love with her daughter so much, it breaks my heart in a good way. And I'm so excited for her. And it's cool to see that just journey of you and I becoming like best friends. She's one of my best friends. And now you guys have this beautiful bundle of joy that you're bringing into this world. I'm very proud of you. I know you'll be a wonderful father.
Thank you so much. Can't wait to just continue on the journey. I'm 1 week in, and it's a lot of work, but it's like worth every ounce of strength and every, second of time.
And when we're done working our asses off for the next 10 years, our kids are just going to be able to take over all of our companies and put us in retirement homes.
Be cheap labor for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's wrap this up. I'm very proud of you, and I'm excited. Thanks. Sorry, this is different from our normal podcast, but we're very excited. Fathers, you should be proud of yourself. If you're a good father and you're around for your kids, if you're a father or a father figure of young adults, kids, good on you. My wife was adopted, and her father, the guy who adopted her, wonderful, wonderful man. And my wife, Irene, just can't think what life would have been without him. His name is Carl. He's a wonderful human. I'm happy to be a part of his family. And it goes to show how an important man like himself just gave himself to her, treats her like any of his other kids, and she's adopted. We're
fortunate in our family. Like we have such great father figures, fathers and father figures that, have played a major role in our lives and have been so formative. So, big thanks to them. And, I would say, like, if you're watching this, and you haven't been that ideal father or that ideal father figure, right now, get off YouTube, quit watching us, quit watching anything else, and go pour into your kids, invest in your kids, invest in, the young lives in your life. They're worth it. They're worth the energy. And it's literally our society depends on it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I spend less and less time working and more time with my children. I just figure out how to work more in that little amount of time and make more money in short amounts of time and spend it with my kids. I never thought I'd be that way. But that's it. We're Chasing Mountains podcast. Dave, love you, brother. And
love you too.
I'm excited about the next few years.
And happy Father's Day.
Thank you. Happy Father's Day to all you men out there. And, if you don't have a father in your life or a father figure, find a good person who's a good example. Read a lot of books. It's good for us. It's good for us all. Mentors, father figures. All right. Well, that's it. We're out unless you have anything else.
I'm good, man.
All right, cool.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
The thoughts and opinions on this show do not reflect those of our advertisers, employers, or other affiliates. The content should not be considered legal or financial advice. The Chasing Mountains podcast is a production of Chasing Mountains Media. Copyright 2022.